Hey, what's up, everybody? Jared Sandler, happy to be with you. Wishing you a great Friday and hopefully a great start to your weekend. Gonna talk some Mavericks today. Had some of you all submit some Mavericks topics and questions, and gonna do my best to try and address as many of them as possible. Before we do that, please, would really appreciate if you would consider subscribing to this channel. It's free. It's easy. All you have to do is click the subscribe button. If you'd like to click the thumbs up to like the video, would appreciate that as well. Feel free to comment. Again, it's free and easy. All it takes is a click of the button. If you want to do both, the combo package of comment, like, and subscribe, it takes less than a minute. You don't even need to write some long soliloquy. Just, hey, video is great, or what are your thoughts on this, or whatever. I'd appreciate it. If not, totally understand. We'll catch you next time. All right, the Mavericks, the Dallas Mavericks. They, if sports do actually resume, are in a position to make a playoff run. I don't know how deep of a playoff run we'll make. One of the questions I've received is how do they match up against the Clippers? If the season ended today and the playoffs started today, the Mavs would face the Clippers. And while there is some flexibility, both with how the Mavs move up and down, but also with how the Clippers might move down, I guess they might not play the Clippers. In the 8-game schedule, just some perspective, if the Mavs go 6-2, then they surpass any of the teams. I think there are 3 teams that are just ahead of them in the standings with the same record. If the Mavs go 6-2 and any of those teams go 4-4, then they would pass any of those teams that go 4-4. However, 6-2 is a tall task. And by the way, the same applies to if they go 5-3 and any of those teams go 3-5 or 4-4 and 2-6. But that's a tall ask because remember, the league in their restart has cut a lot of the fat. All right, so you don't have the Hornets, the Bulls, the Knicks, the Pistons, Hawks, the Cavs, and in the Western Conference, you don't have the Timberwolves and the Warriors. So in order for the Mavs to surpass the Jazz, the Thunder, and the Rockets, and by the way, they would only pass the Thunder and the Rockets. They would have to be 3 games better to pass the Jazz. The Mavs, who by record are one of the worst teams remaining, would have to go 6-2. And the odds of them going 6-2 are much less in this current format than if it was maybe a regular season group of teams and you've got the opportunity to play the Minnesotas of the world, or perhaps you got a matchup against the Pistons. You know what I mean? So going 6-2 is not going to be easy. So let's just talk about it as if they're facing the Clippers. How do they match up? Well, on this channel, you can go to the Just Hangin'. Some of them are super laid back and casual and fun. Others, I've just kind of grouped in their serious interviews. Had a Just Hangin' with Eric Nadel and Matt Hicks yesterday that talked about the return of baseball. A week or two ago, had one with my buddy Jovan Buha, who covers the Clippers for The Athletic, and he did a really good job of breaking down the matchup. And here's some of the things that he identified. Not to, I could easily sit here and just claim all of this as mine, but want to credit Jovan. First of all, the matchup advantage that the Clippers have over the Mavericks is that the Mavericks could possibly for a given game find someone to slow down Kawhi, but if they do, then they don't have anyone to guard Paul George. They don't have that second great wing defender. Now, a lot of people recognize Dorian Finney-Smith as the best wing defender on the Mavs, and he might be. But when you go back and look at the Mavs-Clippers games from this season, he was roasted by Kawhi. And the Mav who had the most success in slowing down Kawhi was Maxi Kleber. Now, is that sustainable over a full series? Does Maxi have the tools to make things tough for Kawhi over an entire series? Probably not. And that's not a knock on Maxi. That's more of a compliment to Kawhi and how good he is, and you all know that. I think if the Mavs are going to win this series, they're going to win the series because of their advantage, and that's Kristaps Porzingis. It's not Luka. Now, Luka's the Mavs' best player and maybe their most important player, even in this scenario in terms of getting Kristaps the ball. But the Clippers have multiple guys who can guard Luka. And that's important because if you have a guy like Luka, stud like Luka, it takes a lot of energy to guard him. And you can't just have one guy. You need, hey, Kawhi's going to get him for a few possessions. All right, now Kawhi's going to get a breather. Either he's going to stay in the game and get a breather, or he's going to go to the bench. Now who's next? All right, they got Paul George. All right, now Kawhi and Paul, we're gonna take you off of Luka for the time being. Who's next? Patrick Beverley. And even though Patrick Beverley size-wise is smaller than the other two, he did a good job on Luka when these two teams met. And so the Clippers have three guys that they can rotate in guarding Luka. And all three guys are either known as, they are known as top-notch defenders, but also had success against Luka. But with Kristaps, Montrezl Harrell's not the answer. Paul George isn't necessarily the answer because then you can work Kristaps more down low. Same with Kawhi. Those guys might make it tough the same way smaller guys made things tough for Dirk. That's a possibility. But if there's a matchup that the Mavs could expose, it's Kristaps. And if Kristaps can have a big series from the perimeter, then the Mavs might make this a little more competitive than at least I believe they will. I think the Mavs lose in 5 games. I don't think they get run out the gym in all 5 games. I think probably one of those 4 losses is not necessarily what you consider a close game. I think one is maybe kind of in between, and then I think 2 are close games. I think they can play them tough. Luka's a really, really, really special player. I just think that from the defensive side and what the Clippers can do to guard and limit the Mavericks, there's just too much that they have. They have too much ammunition, whereas the Mavs are probably short in that. Dorian Finney-Smith really struggled against Kawhi, and even if you do have someone slow down Kawhi, you still need someone to slow down Paul George. It's tough to foresee the Mavs having enough options to really do that over the course of a series. All right. Now, another question I got. Will there be an asterisk to whomever wins the NBA title? And my answer is it depends on who wins. In 98, or the 98-99 season, when the Spurs won, despite the lockout, I don't think people really, when they mention the Spurs titles, say, well, they got this one and that one and that one. Oh, and then there's that title from 98-99. Because the Spurs were a really good team. And I think a lot of people, even though, we were just coming off the Jordan three-peat and maybe people didn't know who the true favorite was, I think the Spurs established themselves as an awesome team. Whereas, let's say, we'll use an equivalent of this season. If the Portland Trailblazers end up sneaking into the playoffs, which very well might happen, in that 8-9 matchup against Memphis, and they somehow end up winning the title, I think people might look at that as a little bit of a miracle run, but I think some people will maybe assign an asterisk to that because they wouldn't have been in the playoffs without this wacky format. Perhaps if even the Mavs won, I don't know that there'd be as much of an asterisk, but I think if the factors of the restart really play a role, or let's say, how about this? If the Mavs end up winning because when they're going through the Clippers, Kawhi gets COVID, and then the Lakers already had LeBron get COVID, and stuff like that happens. But ultimately, I think that over time, the champion is going to be the champion. And, we might recognize this year as wacky, but especially if the Lakers, the Clippers, the Nuggets, the Bucks, one of those teams end up winning, I don't think people will really assign an asterisk. I think it's really if a team like Portland were to end up winning, and then if a team like Memphis or Dallas ends up winning, I think others will try and force that asterisk on it. And again, it just depends on the circumstances. All right. A lot of people asking about the role players for the Mavericks, so I want to go through a few of them. We talked already. We mentioned Maxi Kleber as a name. Man, Maxi Kleber's growth has been super impressive, and this guy is really valuable to the Mavericks. I know a lot of people think of Dorian Finney-Smith as the team's best 3-and-D guy. I think that he maybe has a more traditional 3-and-D game, but I think you make a case the team's best 3-and-D guy is Maxi Kleber because he's shooting 38% from deep. He's really, really good defensively, and as we outlined just a second ago, he is not limited defensively to the post. He does have the ability to go out to the perimeter and do some damage defensively. Now, he's not a guy you're going to constantly put on the opposing team's best wing, but if that wing is a guy who's got some strength, and Kawhi's got some strength, then you've got the ability to utilize Maxey. And while he doesn't have Dorian Finney-Smith's quickness, he does have the strength, and I think the two of them both do a really good job defensively. Neither of them are necessarily outstanding, elite, but I think they do a really good job, and I think Maxey's the better defender. Now, Dorian Finney-Smith, also, they both shoot around 37, 38%. Dorian Finney-Smith, a little more traditional in that 3-and-D guy, and he's really taken steps forward. I mean, you think of where he was last year as a three-point shooter, barely cracking 30%, and the 2 years before that, not cracking 30%. He's come a long way. Maxey's same story. Maxey's become a better three-point shooter. Maybe not as big of a leap because last year I think he was around 35%. But Maxey's also established himself as one of the best rim protectors in the NBA. Now you go to two shooters and two scoring options. Tim Hardaway Jr. and Seth Curry, I think, have the Luka effect. I think you're going to see this from a lot of players who fit Curry and Hardaway's mold, guys who are shooters, guys who are good scorers, but maybe not guys who always have the ability to create for themselves. Because Luka is really special at getting these guys involved. You are going to have a lot. This is not to diminish what Tim Hardaway and Seth Curry have accomplished, because Seth Curry is one of the best shooters that the NBA has, and really, if you look at numbers, one of the best shooters really in a long time in the NBA. He's right there with his brother. He's just doesn't have the all-around game. But, Seth Curry shooting 45% from deep is A, a credit to Seth, but B, a credit to Luka. I think Luka deserves some credit there. Now, Seth shot 45% from deep last year, but he's making an entire three-pointer more per game. You look at Tim Hardaway, it's a career year for Tim Hardaway. And, again, a lot of it has to do with Luka. Now, again, I want to say this is not taking anything away from these guys, but I want to just illustrate this is one reason why Luka's so special. But you look at Tim Hardaway, his PER, best, I think, of his career. He's not averaging the most points per game of his career, but again, he's got Luka and Kristaps to do a lot of that. Whereas, I think when he was with the Knicks and averaging nearly 20 a game a few years ago, they just didn't really have much. Kristaps was hurt, and the Knicks kind of stink. But Hardaway's shooting 40% from deep for the first time in his career. He's making nearly 3 threes a game. So the Mavs have a really good supporting cast. There's no doubt about it. And then guys who are counted on even less, Boban and, I just thought about Dwight Powell, and he's hurt, obviously. In his role, he was really blossoming. This is a really good supporting cast. Now, I do think that they need to get better. I do think whether it's individuals or, I think you can upgrade Dorian Finney-Smith. I think you can find a better 3-and-D guy. As much as I love Dodo, I think you can find a better Tim Hardaway, because Tim Hardaway is a liability defensively. You're not going to trust Tim Hardaway to do anything defensively. That's not to say that Tim Hardaway doesn't have a place on this team. I just don't know if he's a long-term part of it. I think Tim Hardaway exercises his option next year, and that's probably his last year. So now let's talk about the Mavs moving forward. A lot of people have asked questions about their free agency outlook. How can they take the next leap? Why are they an appeal to free agents? And then at the end, before we do that, this is kind of a good transition. Top young duos. I was asked about the top young duos. So I did a little bit of an audit, and young, I guess, is somewhat subjective, but I came up with Six young duos who I think are young, fit that category, and who are above the rest. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown with Boston. You got Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons with Philadelphia. They're still pretty young. Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray with Denver. Zion and Brandon Ingram in New Orleans. And then Ja Morant and Jaren Jackson with Memphis to go along with Luka and KP here in DFW with the Dallas Mavericks. Where do they rank? Well, listen, if you ask someone from Boston, they're going to try and sell you on Jalen and Tatum. If you ask someone from Philadelphia, they'll probably sell you on Simmons and Embiid. I'm going to eliminate Philadelphia. I think that there's a weird mix there, and especially with those two players. It's a weird mix. I think Simmons' inability to shoot forces Embiid outside more than what would probably be best. There's a health thing with Embiid, a shooting thing with Simmons. I'm gonna push those two aside. Jokic and Murray, really formidable, no doubt about it. Williamson and Ingram, I just think we need to see more from Zion. I think there are some holes there. Ja and Jaren, that's a pretty special duo as well. But I think you can make a case that on this list, Luka is the best individual player. And while Porzingis isn't the second best player, and maybe for the Robins on this list, he's not the best Robin, I think what we saw out of Porzingis prior to the suspension and the way he and Luka were playing together was really, really impressive. And I would definitely say on this list of six, the Mavs are top three. And then I'd say that if you consider context, the contract situations, what the future is. I think, Dallas, and we'll get into this. I know people are going to roll their eyes, but I think Dallas is a more desirable destination than places like Philly and even a place like Denver, and New Orleans. Listen, when has New Orleans really cashed in big on free agency? I think that I would put Luka and KP for young duos ahead of Tatum and Brown, because I wonder what that's going to look like in a few years, and I think there's a little bit of a limit. They're really, really good at what they do. I think there's a limit that I don't think that they cover as wide of a range of skill set from a skill set standpoint. I've already told you my knocks on Embiid and Simmons. I haven't seen enough from Williamson and Ingram, and I think I've seen enough from Morant and Jackson. I came in loving Morant. I just think that Luka's better than Morant, and I don't know yet that Jackson's better than Porzingis. So to me, it really comes down to Doncic and KP and Jokic and Murray, and I'm going Doncic and KP. And I think if I were to, I say it comes down to that. I guess you could make a case. I'm trying to think who you could make a case for out of the others. I mean, I think Boston people make a case for Tatum and Brown. I just think you got better rebounding from Doncic and Porzingis. I think you got better distribution. Neither Tatum nor Brown are good at distributing the rock. So I think that, anyway, I go with Porzingis and Luka. And how can the Mavs take that leap? Well, it's got to be in the offseason, but I'm going to tell you, it's not going to be this upcoming offseason. The Mavs don't have a whole lot of cap space. Hardaway's going to exercise his option, and you go from there. This is also not an offseason where you necessarily want a lot of cap space. There are not a lot of appealing options. Bradley Beal's name's been mentioned if he's made available in a trade, but the Mavericks don't have anywhere near enough from an asset standpoint to get Bradley Beal. All right, if it's a one-man race, then yeah, I guess the Mavs, if the Wizards were forced to trade him, could maybe put something together. But the minute a second team is involved in wanting Bradley Beal, the minute the Mavs cannot put up the best package. That's just the reality of it. But that's okay, because you go to the next offseason, and that's where the free agent class is pretty special. Before we get into those guys, why would someone want to come to Dallas? Well, let me tell you something. While the Mavericks have really struggled getting free agents, how many of these situations have arisen or manifested in a way where you could look at the Mavs and say, yeah, that future is super bright. Because whenever a free agent would look at the Mavs, they'd look at a declining Dirk. And who else? Right? It's not like the Mavs had another star who was on the rise. It was always Dirk, who I think everyone respected and loved, but Dirk was doing this. The Mavs, for the first time in a long time, are going to make a big pursuit in free agency while doing this. Players don't not like Dallas. Let me tell you something. Players love Uptown. They love no state income tax. I promise you that. But I think the biggest reason is not players not liking Dallas. I don't think it's that the state income tax doesn't mean anything to them. It's certainly not because of Mark Cuban. Players love Mark Cuban. I just think it's that players look at the future and they see that they're going to be the top dog and they're paired with a guy who's doing this. Well, now, two things. One, Luka and KP are both doing this. We'd like to believe with health. And then more importantly, I think, or just as important, this player would be the final piece. So they don't need to imagine or rely on something else developing. If you were to try and get, fill in the blank free agent, of years past, that person would be sold on, we're gonna build a monster around you, but it's gonna happen, in a few years. Well, okay, you can do that, but there's also a little bit of risk involved in that. Now you're the final piece. I mean, you got to maybe develop, the supporting cast, but you're joining Luka, you're joining Porzingis. You are the final piece, and I think there's something to be said for that. Now, the free agent class, not this offseason, the next one. And I don't know that any of these guys are going to be options for the Mavericks. You got Kawhi, you got LeBron. I don't think LeBron would come here, but maybe Kawhi. I mean, Kawhi's an interesting guy. You've got Paul George. You've got Bradley Beal, who would be a free agent then. You got Rudy Gobert, Mike Conley. I mean, this is going to be a massive free agent class. Victor Oladipo, who could be a really good fit. DeMar DeRozan, not a guy I necessarily want, but you've got a ton of amazing free agents, which means that in some ways focuses are going to be split. It's not like everyone's going to be going after that one guy. Now, I didn't mention Giannis, and that's because of the superstars. I think Giannis is the guy who might make the most sense if he wants to leave Milwaukee. Don't know that he does. But I do think the Mavs will get one of these big-name free agents. I really do. Because you can get that person to come here, even if it's kind of what guys have been doing on like a 2-year deal or with an option that allows them out after 2 years. And they know that they're joining Luka, they're joining KP, and they've got a ready-made winner. It's ready-made. They don't have to wait another offseason to get this guy or that guy. It's a done deal. And I think that's a really big part of it. In addition to the fact that Luke and KP, like I said, are doing this, the fact that they know that the package is complete. And I think in 2 years as well, another thing that's significant to note is that the top teams now, they're kind of aging out. All right, even the Warriors, if we want to include them when healthy with Clay and, this first overall pick and Steph Curry and Draymond, and do they have Andrew Wiggins, what have you? They're going to be, they're age-wise, they're maybe aging out of this thing. The Lakers, possibly aging out with their current combination. The Clippers, we just mentioned, Paul George and Kawhi Leonard are free agents, so who knows there. Now, the Nuggets probably are going to be in the mix, you'd think, and maybe the Jazz, maybe. And then you go to the East, a lot of it depends on, what Giannis does. But the Western Conference powers aging out. James Harden and Russell Westbrook aren't getting any younger. 2 years from now, we don't know what those guys are going to look like. The Mavs are not aging out. The Mavs are aging in. And so that's why I think the future is so bright for the Mavs. It's okay. You got to be patient. It's not going to be this year. It's not going to be this next offseason, I mean. And I guess you never say never because Donnie and Mark have been creative. But I think the target has been and remains the subsequent offseason when one of the greatest free agent classes of all time enters the market, and the Mavs are easily one of the most appealing landing spots because you got Luka, and guys love playing with Luka. You got KP, and now that third person is the finished product. Do you need a third star? Well, listen, a third star certainly doesn't help, or it just doesn't hurt. Do you have to have one? Maybe not, but if you don't, then you've got to have a 2011 title team supporting cast. Because remember, it was Dirk in the supporting cast. Not to take anything away from Terry or Tyson, but no one would look at those guys as superstars the way that we perceive a lot of those free agents to be. Giannis, Kawhi, LeBron, Bradley Beal, averaging 30 points a game. I know he's played for the Wizards, so maybe some people don't recognize how special he is, but this guy's a star. He's not a role player. Victor Oladipo, star, not a role player. But you look at the Mavs supporting cast in 2011, Tyson, Jet, Kidd at that point in his career was maybe the elite of the elite supporting cast members. It was not a star then. So Kidd, Jet, Marion, Tyson, JJ. The Mavs supporting cast was outstanding. And maybe you don't have to have a supporting cast that amazing, but you need a really, really strong supporting cast, and you need to upgrade from the 3-and-D standpoint. Dorian Finney-Smith is a 3-and-D guy, but he can't be your best 3-and-D guy if you don't get another superstar. So, yeah, it can be done, and maybe that's the route they go. My guess is they end up getting another superstar. We've talked about fits. I don't think a fit is a guy who has to be ball dominant. I think, a fit could be a guy who has the ability to be ball dominant, but can also succeed off the ball. Bradley Beal is a name that, we love. In a trade, not going to happen. Victor Oladipo, depending on the health, he could be a really, really interesting name. He's got that D and that toughness. He is a superstar 3-and-D guy. And then Giannis. Maybe Giannis is not always considered or thought of as a conventional fit, his type, but Giannis is Giannis. He's not even a type. He's Giannis. And if you get Giannis, you take Giannis. There's something special, in what his game is, and I think the way that his game can be molded. So there you go. I try to answer as many of these questions as possible. We'll have much more Mavs talk moving forward. Again, you can always reach out to me and submit questions either in the comments section below here or any way in which we interact, be it Reddit, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Hey, reach out to me. Would love to connect. Please, I'd really appreciate if you consider subscribing to this page. You're not going to get spammed with stuff. I do my best to try and provide compelling content, but it's free. You just click a button. It really, no skin off your back, and it helps me, so I'd really appreciate it. Have a great weekend. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks so much for hanging out with us here today for some Mavs talk.